There are three truths that I guess I gotta get my fingers right. This should be a blooper, but I'm gonna keep going. So there are three quick truths to the job hopping trap that I'm gonna share with you today. So good morning. I am Tiffany Quinones, and I am a career coach who has learned how to reverse engineer what I'm about to share with you today. Some of my top tips that I teach are how to stay empowered. What I do is I equip people to lead in the career field who are leaders and who are professionals. And I teach them how to take back control and set boundaries and lead confidently without burnout. And I teach this in my membership called Badass Empowerment Collective. And so today I've got three top tips for you, and I have my notes, so I'm going to be looking down from time to time. So tip number one, your job isn't the problem. Your job is not the problem. Your job has always been your job. The building, the people in your job, I mean, sure, there's new employees and there's different people that come in all the time. The flow of the environment that you work in isn't the problem. The schedule isn't the problem. Your job duties aren't the problem. No. The color of the carpet isn't the problem. The rules you have to follow, including the really ridiculous, office politics that happen, isn't necessarily the problem. The problem is that there is no boundaries or control over your own life. There aren't boundaries to say no to the things that drain you so you can say yes to the things that light you up. There's no control. You feel out of control. For example, when you wake up every morning and you think about having to go to work, what comes to mind? Is it ugh? Is it dread? Is it those memes that everything is about complaining wrapped in a bow of humor? Is it the gosh, I hate Mondays? Why does everybody crap on a day that's going to show up regardless of whether you're there or not? Boundaries. When is the last time you woke up and you just sipped your coffee, enjoyed the morning before you started rushing to get to work? But you want to know one of the top ways to know that people don't have boundaries in their lives and that there's no control in their career is the conversations that people have about how tired they are, that they don't have energy, their faces have stress, overwhelm, and chaos, and they've aged themselves. It's an indicator when somebody complains about how tired they are, but they don't have boundaries to take care of themselves, such as nutrition, getting the right amount of sleep, taking time off just to take time off. They don't have control. They give it all away to their job, their job. And what does that do? That disempowers people. And then you have people in top leadership fields that don't know how to lead because they're exhausted. They're wiped out. They're burned out because they don't know how to say no. They don't have control. These beautiful people also are the same ones that take work home on the weekends. And their families are there. And it's like, why? Your job, by the way, jobs aren't concrete. Jobs can go. Jobs can lay you off without a second, without taking a second look. Jobs try to fill roles with people who have passed away. They try to fill that role immediately. It's like, don't you want to take some time to grieve the person that added value to your job? I mean, that's a traumatic experience, So therapy is a great way to take back control. So that's tip number one. So tip number two is the wrong things are being fixed. We got to stop fixing the wrong things. Changing jobs isn't going to fix anything. Number one thing that people think that's going to change is by changing jobs. But if You haven't set boundaries and have control in the first job. What makes anyone think that they're going to be able to get change what happens in the next job? Because in my experience, you have the same situations and lessons piling up in other places with different faces. That's it. It's the same theme, same way of doing things, same motto, no control, no boundaries. But the main things that's being ignored is how people feel. Number one, people want to feel valued. People want to feel peace, and they want to feel energized. And they want to feel like they have control of saying no to like overtime. But in many instances, people feel undervalued and overworked. So changing jobs isn't going to solve the problem if we still feel undervalued and overworked. It's just not going to happen, because those same feelings are going to resurface. And guess what? You are stuck dealing with it just at a different location. And until you learn how to set those boundaries so that you don't get burned out, so that you can stop looking at the wrong things and start fixing the things that you can, such as your feelings, how you feel, helping you learn how to look at things differently so you are more empowered, so you can take control over your life, so you can immediately know when to say no to overtime, know when to say no to piling on more tasks on your plate, saying no to that thing that your boss brings you at 4:55 p.m. and says this needs to be done today, and you leave at 5. When you are able to set boundaries and say, I already have all my tasks completed, 5 p.m. is a hard cutoff. I will work on this first thing tomorrow morning. Actually, what's the priority with this? And then you ask your boss some questions. And then you let them know, okay, 5 p.m. is my cutoff, hard cutoff. I go home at 5. I will go ahead, and depending on what priority, you can then, work on it the next day, the next business day. That's control, that's boundaries, and it's not being rude, it's still being respectful. Number 3, own your career, not just your role. Set bold boundaries to protect your energy and thrive where you are. This looks like saying no to gossip. This looks like saying no to those conversations that venting and complaining come in your direction. This even looks like you not venting and complaining about how bad things are at the job to everyone who is willing to listen. This also looks like, oops, you have to excuse me. I am multitasking. This is probably not a teaching that many are used to. Like, why are you getting up? Because I am multitasking while I do this video. And so just to look back at my notes, when you own your career, you will be the person that people come to that won't gossip, because you'll have boundaries set in place that say, hey, don't bring me people's names. I don't want to hear their names. If you have a situation that you would like to talk about, as long as you leave the names out, it doesn't turn into a complaining and venting session. Then if you're looking for like a strategy or a tip, then I can do that. But if all you're wanting to do is complain and vent, I can't do that. That's setting a boundary. That's taking control. By the way, that's owning your career. It's owning your career, not just your role. I think too many people are so consumed with their particular role that they forget that to add value and use the skills that they have, you got to work, because you're not there by yourself. You're there with a team of people. So when you own your career, you don't mind. You don't have a problem setting boundaries. And the boundaries that you set, there are some people who aren't going to like it. but then there are people who will respect you. Plus, boundaries commands respect. When you own your role, prime example, when people call you in a frustrated, disrespecting manner, and you set some bold boundaries that say, hey, I am not going to continue this conversation if you're going to continue speaking to me in a disrespectful tone, then that is a boundary. That's owning your career. That's not just owning your role, because now you're setting a tone for how people talk to you, but you're also setting a tone for the entire department, for the entire place, not just yourself. And so we got to get out of the one-sided mentality that we're only in it for ourselves and that nobody else matters. Because when you set the tone, you actually are being an advocate first for yourself, but also for the people that you work with, because you're setting boundaries. And guess what setting boundaries does? They command respect, because now people will know how to treat you. That is owning your career, and you won't feel guilty at all. In fact, your energy is now protected. And there are some people, I'm not going to lie, who will try to get away with complaining, venting, and trying to mow over your boundaries. But it can even sound like, hey, please don't tell me anything else that I don't need to know about this person, because it's none of my business. That's a boundary. And guess what that does? That protects your energy, also protects the integrity of the people, also protects your integrity, and you have more confidence now because you realize how much of a badass you are in setting boundaries. This is where you begin to thrive. You get to, when you start making these small pivots, instead of job hopping to other environments where you will experience the same thing, what I just shared with you, these 3 tips, will help you to thrive. Thrive in the middle of a crap pile. They will help you learn how to stay empowered so that you can confidently show up and lead other people. By the way, leading doesn't always mean you have a title. I don't have a title. In my career, I don't have a title. Outside of my job, I do. I am a career coach and with a bow, a magician, if you will. I have learned how to reverse engineer how to thrive in a job, because it's not just about turning in a resume and getting a job that you love. No more. It's no longer about, showing up with being the first person there. It's no longer about how good you look in front of other people. It's no longer about, it's not just about schedules, and it's also not just about rules, enhancing rules. As a leader, we have an important role. And when we aren't empowered and when we aren't leading ourselves, we are not able to lead others effectively. And it starts with these 3 tips that I shared with you. And also, it's part of what's called the Boundary Boss Method inside my membership, the Badass Empowerment Collective. And so information is coming out about that, but I'm talking about it now because it's coming. So yes, it's when we become empowered, we thrive, and we'll stop complaining about our jobs and we'll walk around empowered. And that's exactly what I teach inside my membership. And so, my clients, one of the cool things about my clients is that they have mastered setting boundaries because they realize that now they are empowered with setting boundaries. They realize that they are energized. They feel more confident And because they're able to say no to things that do drain them, like drama, and they set boundaries, they no longer say no to saying yes to plans that people have that drain them. They say no unapologetically without guilt. They are empowered, and guess what? They're thriving, and they're saying no to chaos, no to overwhelm, and no to all this extra stuff piled on their plates. They're putting what's important first on the top of their list, which is first themselves. Then it's their family. And then lower on the list is job. Job, I am the one that leads people to switch the role from job being the top of the focus and list to this is self way at the bottom of the list to self at the very top of the list, empowered, confident, badass, bold, empowered, job down here. Because now they're setting boundaries to say no to the things that drain and break your cups. And job should never, ever be at the top of our list. Yes, at all. We don't thrive with that mindset anyway. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm excited for who watches this. Yes, let me know in the comments what stood out to you the most, and I will definitely come back and respond to those. But yeah, let me know what tip you're going to start putting into practice first. I'm excited to see who does that. Okay, bye-bye.